we all know this, and I know this is basic stuff, but real estate's a contact sport. We just heard two of the best in the business, and what did they talk about? They talked about staying consistent and making sure that you get in front of your past clients and all the above. So we're going to get into that, and I'm just going to give you some easy ways to get in front of whether it's past clients or clients you're trying to pick up, that you never worked with before. So when you're sitting down with somebody one-on-one, it's a great opportunity to get a listing, obviously, but it's really hard if you're trying to put a message out there to the masses. To do it on a one-to-one basis is really difficult. So just like all of you, imagine if Jill and Frank tried to take the time to sit down with every person in this room individually. It's impossible. It's not enough time in the day. If you have a crowd of people, obviously the number game becomes a lot easier. So the biggest difference between these two things, it's very obvious to everybody here. It's easier to do it in front of crowds and do it with groups and do events. Why doesn't everybody do it that way? And the answer is fear. That's the real answer. And so what I'm going to do is I kind of structured this presentation to talk about fear and to talk about the different things. I've been coaching agents for as long as I can remember at a very high level all over the place, and agents at various different production levels. And what I recognize is there are certain things that come up when we talk about events that are fears. They don't say that it's fear. Usually it comes across in the form of an excuse. But it's fears that are coming out about various different things. So what I did was I tried to highlight the most common fears that I hear, that people say to me, well, this is the reason I'm not doing this event, or this is the reason I'm not doing that event, and use that as a baseline to give you guys some really, really great ideas on events that I've seen successfully help people grow their business. So if you've never heard this before, fear, false evidence appearing real. Most of the things that you're afraid of are just complete and utter nonsense, but you don't realize it because you just have it in your mind that this is what it is. This is what I should be worried about. And the truth of it is I'm hoping to dispel some of that as we get into this today. So fear number one, I'm going to jump right into it. What if no one shows up? That's a concern, right? I do an event and it's like that old thought process. Nobody came to my birthday party. The reality is, it is something to be worried about. I would say the hardest thing, and the reason why I labeled this number one, is the most important thing that you do when you do an event, hands down, is try to fill the seats. If you fill the seats, you've already succeeded. It's really hard to screw it up when people show up. And that's the truth, and we're going to talk about the reasons why. So I'll give you an example, and a lot of this, I have to be real with you, is pulled from my own experience. So some of these are my own failures, so to speak. Some of these are my own successes, but I do speak from experience. So I remember, this is my first event that I ever ran in real estate. I did a first-time buyer seminar, and I spent about, 2 months of my life preparing for this. I spent hours and hours and hours putting together an ass-kicking presentation. I rented out a space at a local hotel, an auditorium. It was like 150 seats. I did all sorts of marketing. I did everything you could imagine to make this an amazing event. 2 people showed up. I cannot even tell you the level of embarrassment that I had. When I was and these were people that I kind of knew, they were, friends of mine. I didn't know them in the real estate space. These are not the people, but the truth of it is 2 people showed up, and I had been talking this up and everything else. Some of it was weather related, it happened to be a winter day, and there was, it was a little bit of weather challenges, but I didn't care. I had 148 seats that were empty, and I didn't know what to do. I got up there and I was just I'm holding the microphone for 2 people. I felt like an idiot. And, at a certain point I was I probably don't need the microphone. Let me put this down. And I went through and I was do I do my presentation? And I thought about it and I was you know what? They showed up. I'm doing it for them. This is suck the pride up, forget about the ego, do it for those 2 people that showed up. And I thought I was a complete and utter failure. I walked out of there that night and I was I can't believe that this went so poorly. And it was one of those things that was so discouraging that I was I don't even want to do an event anymore. Like, why would I do another event? Like, this was, I just spent all this money. I lost money. It was embarrassing. The interesting thing about life is you don't know, the outcome, and, you figure it out later in hindsight. The truth of it is I sold 6 houses from that one event. So 2 people showed up. I sold 6 houses. And I haven't actually done the math on it, but I just know that some of those were more expensive homes. I probably made $100,000 off of that event, somewhere in that range, maybe even more. And I just think about it because for years of my life, I was like, that was a failure. It was anything but a failure. It's one of the best things that I've ever done in my entire career in terms of return on investment. And I thought it was a failure running around defeated for a while. So, I give you that because it doesn't take a lot for you to get success out of running an event. 2 people showed up, but I did it well. I did it well for those 2 people, well enough to sell 6 houses. Fear number 2, I'm afraid to speak. A lot of you have this problem. And I can't tell you, it was such a highlight for me last month when my daughters were here, and I appreciate you guys indulging that. That was such an awesome moment for me. And I'll tell you, my oldest, Angelina, I came back, after, later that night, and I said to her, I said to both of them, I said, I'm so proud of you girls. You did an amazing job. And Angelina goes, I have a question for you. And I said, yeah. She goes, I know you do this monthly, right? And I was like, yeah. And she goes, good, I'm ready for next month. And I go, well, no, we're not going to do that every month. And she goes, but Daddy, we're a team. I was like, oh my God, I melted. But, the truth is I was so proud of them because it's really hard to get in front of a crowd of people. And I understand that, and I'm not suggesting that every person feels comfortable with that. But what I would say is the thing that's being mislabeled in all of this is the fact that you have to, because you don't. You could run effective events and never hold this microphone. And I'm going to talk about that for a quick second. And it's just about linear thinking versus lateral thinking. When people have a one-track thought process and think that this is the way that I need to do this to be successful, they kind of close their mind off of different ways to solve the same problem. And what I would try to push you towards is this thought process that there's a lot of ways to do events that have nothing to do with holding a microphone. So if you're deathly afraid of that, don't worry about it. If this is your nightmare, don't do that. It's okay. Host a panel. And this is still, a kind of a step in that direction away from being the sole speaker. And I'm going to talk about, further along that spectrum. But if you're hosting a panel, what are you doing? You're not, if you think about it, I sat up here with my phone when I was interviewing Frank, and every single time he answered a question, while he was answering that question, if you guys were paying attention, what did I do? I looked at my phone and I looked at the next question. I still listened to him, but I prepared myself for what the next question was. So when it was time to ask a question, I wasn't, let me read through my phone and have you guys have that experience. It's just preparation. It's simple. And the focus was not on me. The focus had nothing to do with me. It was about Frank. It was about Jill when she was speaking. So hosting a panel, here's the interesting thing. Whether you're the expert or not, if you bring them the expert, you become the expert. Because all they care about from you is they need a resource for the information that they're looking for. If they feel like you're the conduit for that information and you're bringing them expertise that would help them understand and achieve their goals or their wants and needs, you've become the expert. And you never ever have to speak if you don't want to. You could just be like, and here's my good friend and, amazing, blah, blah, blah. Whatever it is, that's essentially, now you're the host, you take on that MC role, you get what you want. Now, for some people, you don't ever want to even be that person. I don't want to be the one doing the interviews and all that stuff. I'm going to give you, I don't know if you guys know Queen Ella, love Queen Ella. So Queen Ella, for years, she never spoke. She didn't do events. Anybody who follows her, anybody who knows anything about her, all she does is events, it feels like these days. And the truth of it is Queen, she came to the first Mastermind that we did. We called it a little different name back then. It was 3 years ago, give or take. And I asked her, I was like, I want you to be one of the first speakers. And she was like, Mike, I'm not grabbing that microphone. I've never spoke before. I don't want to do that. And I was like, no, like you have a voice that people need to hear. Let's do it. And so she did the first event. And I remember she was super nervous, but you guys, as warm and welcoming as you are, you gave her the round of applause and the love that she deserved. And it kind of like lit something up inside of her, because I remember after that, she was like, I could do this. And then she started to run these events called Q4 Mastermind, and she got all these different speakers that would come out, and we helped her like kind of organize and the thought process and all of this. And the first one she did, it was a bigger crowd. It was 100 plus people in the room, 200 people in the room, whatever it was. And I remember she was super nervous about this thought process of like even emceeing. But her superpower in many ways is singing. She's a great, phenomenal singer, like has a voice of an angel. And so what did she do? She got up there and she opened it with song. She just opened it with singing, I don't remember exactly what song off the top of my head, I apologize, but it was like everybody in the whole room, like where I'm over here, like, can I get your attention? She opened with song and everybody shut the hell up quick. Like it was immediately all eyes on Queen. And the thing is like when I saw that, I realized like she was doing her thing because she didn't want to hold the microphone for other things. She wanted to get the attention, get everybody to like pay attention to her. I'm running this event, now I'm gonna hand it over. So there's different ways to approach this. Another easy example is host a cocktail party. Like if you're uncomfortable speaking and doing an educational event and all that stuff, host a cocktail party. Like get some people together for some drinks if you want. It doesn't have to be drinking related, but like that's an easy thing where most people, if I said to everybody in this room, hey, we're having drinks after, like 95% of you show up and 15% of the people that didn't show up here will still come. Like, I mean, it's just, some people will only come to things like that. So to me, like it's an easy way to be the center of attention in some ways, but not necessarily be the one holding the microphone, having to do, what you feel like you need to do a lot of times with events. If you don't have the money to host a giant cocktail party, you could invite people out and say to them, hey, first drink on me, like first round on us. Like come, give them a ticket. That's what like a lot of these, real estate associations do, is they'll host an event and they'll say, here's a ticket, like, thank you for coming, like, we're getting you all together. And like, now that's that's training wheels if you can't do a whole event. That's okay. Like not everybody here has the same budget. So it's not a problem, but it still is bringing people together. Fear number 3, I hate people. I get this a lot. Like, I can name a couple people in this room that hate people. And, I kind of get a kick out of it because they don't say it. Some people say it directly and say, I hate people. Some people are like, well, I'm just not a people person and like all of that. But it's essentially the exact same thing. So the I hate people, my first question to all of you is very simple. Why are you in real estate?
I know, right?
Like, seriously, why are you in real estate? Because the reality is that I'm not even trying to be funny about this, although it is a little comical. Like, the thing is like, I get this a lot, is the answer to this question is, I hate people, but I love houses. And a lot of people, I can't tell you, all the managers in this room will appreciate this. I sit down with a lot of new agents that are thinking about getting into real estate. They just got their license. And like, at this point, probably 20% of them, I'm like, well, what makes you come into real estate? Why do you want to get into real estate? Well, I watched the show on HGTV and I'm just like, So the I love houses thing, I know that you probably know this, but just in case you don't, houses do not buy houses. People buy houses. So when you're like, I love houses and I hate people, like you're just shortchanging yourself. Like that's not how this works. Like you have to be engaged with people. It's a contact sport. With that in mind, I want to also lean into, this is like the obstacle is the way. I hate people, but I love houses. Great. The whole concept of do what you love what you do. I want you to think about this, and I'm just going to give you a twist on it. Let's say that everything I just said is true. I love houses. I hate people. How can you run an event leaning into that? So the thought process is your vibe attracts your tribe. And it's like if you create an experience that based on something that you love, there are other people in the universe that will love exactly what you love as well. I mean, with very little exception. Like if there's something that's so unique that nobody cares about it, maybe don't do that event based off of that. But if there's something like I love houses, there's a lot of people that love houses. That's why HGTV exists. So I don't know if you ever saw this book, but if you haven't, it's actually a really good book for a realtor to have. It is like an encyclopedia. It's not something that you're gonna go home and read all the way through tonight. But it's a field guide to American houses. It will literally, if you're somebody who's like, I don't know the difference between a Georgian colonial and a whatever, like you'll be able to look at this book and know exactly what the type of house is, what the design elements of the house are. It goes through all of that. So it just makes your life so much easier if you have a listing and you're like, I have this higher end listing and I don't even know how to describe this house based off of its, the characters of architecture. This book will achieve that for you. So why I bring this up is because years ago I had agents that were with me and they loved this old house. They lived in a community where the community has older housing stock, and much of the community, this is Maplewood, South Orange, in that area, much of the community that has this older housing stock loves the idea of restoring it to its original grandeur. And they don't want to have these cookie cutter, flip houses where everything looks the same. And in some other markets that we've seen, they want the original standard of home to look like it used to. And so they really felt strongly about restoring homes properly. And so we built this event called the Resource Home Show that highlighted, it was just that, a home show. So it was vendors that they basically created. And what it was is they invited the community in, they charged a simple fee, and the fee all went to charity. They paid the expenses of the event, the rest of it went to charity. And then the whole room was filled with people that helped you, replace your old doorknobs, or older windows, or all the various different issues that arise with redoing an older home. They were able to have a resource for that, hence the Resource Home Show. And honestly, it was there was thousands of people that showed up because people were like, oh, I could figure out how to fix this in my house. It spoke to the local community. It had nothing to do with being about people. It had more to do about being a resource for these people. And I gotta be honest with you, just that one thing alone, which was a major undertaking, by the way, this wasn't a small project, their business went up by 4 to 5 times, in terms of, it was exponential growth overnight. Because people were like, hey, I recognize these agents from the Resource Home Show. You guys ran that? Oh yeah, let's talk about my house. I have this problem with my house. It got them talking about real estate very quickly. So fear number 4 is I'm broke. That's a very real thing. Some people are like, I don't have 2 dimes to rub together, to go out and run events. And I respect that. I was definitely there. I remember years ago when I got into real estate, I would drive around and illegally stuff mail into mailboxes at 2 in the morning because I didn't have enough money for stamps. So I completely recognize where you guys may be if you're at that point in your career. It gets better, just keep working hard. What I would say is this, I go back to that linear thought. You don't have to spend money on resources that exist today. You could create a podcast. You could create an Instagram Live. You could create, YouTube Shorts. You could do all of these things. You could make events and something that people attend. And a lot of agents do this. They'll do this. I'm going to use Instagram Reels and Live as an example. They have a weekly event. Every Monday night at 8 o'clock, me and my buddy talk about real estate, all things real estate. And we have certain topics and people jump in and ask questions and we respond to those questions and all of that. You don't have to spend $1 to create an event. You make it an experience and you have consistency. And if you have the same consistency over and over and over again, people show up. And the reality is even if they don't show up in the masses, you don't need every person in this room to show up to have success. I've proven that when having 2 people show up and I sold 6 houses. The reality is if you have 5 people show up to your event, that's a success. There are 5 people on the internet somewhere that are probably friends, family, confidants of yours, whoever, that now see you in a different light. They see you in real estate. Utilize events to your advantage, whether it's something you're paying for or something that you're just doing with the tools that are out there for you. The other thing is partnerships. If you don't have the money, find somebody that has the money. Like whether it's a lender, whether it's a title company, whether it's a home inspector, there are so many different tradespeople and so many different professionals that utilize our pipeline to make a living. Tap into those people. Say, hey, listen, and there's different ways to structure this, but one easy way is think of like the table in the back of the room. That table has a price tag on it. It has you wanna rent space in the back of my room, $500 at an event. And now if I have 3 tables, that's $1,500. My event cost me $1,500. My expenses just went away because I'm pushing them. Now all I gotta do is get people to show up. So I'm not suggesting that you should make this a money-making endeavor. That's not the point of it. I'm talking more about covering costs. But the reality is like, get creative on ways that you could put yourself in front of people. And then I would give them a task. You're my, my roofer, and you're in the back of my room. Like, not a problem. You could sit back there, but you better bring 5 people with you. And that's your price of admission. So if it's not something that they're giving you money on, have them bring people. Because if you have 3, 4, 5 people in the back of the room at those tables, and each of them is bringing 5 people, you just filled your room. And you filled your room with people that you don't know necessarily, that are not necessarily part of your network, that are potentially new buyers, new sellers, new investors, whatever the topic is. It's an easy approach. Fear number 5, I don't want to be a pushy salesperson. I completely get that. I know I come across that way sometimes, I think, up here, but I am anything but. Like, in the listing side of the business, it was like, if you want, just like Frank said before, if I make sense to work with you, great. And if not, great, good luck. Like, it's the exact same thing on a recruiting side of it. Like, when I sit down with agents and I'm recruiting them, I don't chase them all over the world. If it makes sense for us to work together, they know it, like, and vice versa. So, when clients are a good fit and when they're not. The pushy salesperson thing is all about your perspective, and you got to change your perspective, and I'm going to talk about that. What if you didn't do an event that was earmarked for me? It's not like come check out the Michael Pennisi real estate event. You don't have to do that. Run a charitable event. Make the focus something else. The focus doesn't have to be your real estate business. If you're the one running that charitable event, naturally, it's going to come across as, hey, this person's trying to help the community. That's not a bad thing. It's never a bad thing. I'm going to lead by example and give you a real life example right now. I told you earlier that I'm going to give you an opportunity to go out with the panelists that I had, or the speakers that I had. This weekend, myself and several of the Coldwell Banker family were all jumping in the ocean and being crazy, doing a polar plunge. So if I have pneumonia again next month, that's why. But we're doing it for a good cause. The good cause is pretty simple. We're doing it for Special Olympics. So we're all raising money as an organization. I think we've raised $14,000 already. Al, is that a good number? We're gonna hit 15,000 already that we've raised for Special Olympics. For anybody in this room, I'll give you guys a couple of different opportunities if you wish to participate. Anybody who donates $250 will get a free coaching lunch with either Al Garcia in the back of the room. Lindsay has a sick son, so she can't be here, or myself. So if you're interested in sitting down with us and you're willing to donate for a good cause, please do. For those of you, I promise the link will remain up. For those of you who want to get really generous and do more, donations of $1,000 get a dinner with all of us. Al Garcia, Lindsay Listansky, or myself, I should say, not or. And the last is a little bit of a fun kicker for whoever in this room decides to donate the most money, so the winner out of this group. You will get a dinner with Al, Lindsay, myself, Jill Biggs, Frank Isolde, and our president, Rob Norman. So if you're interested in donating, and I realize that not every person in here has the money to do it, but I can't sit up here and talk about events without talking about trying to help these kids. And obviously all donations bring a smile to their face, so I appreciate it. I'll put this link up when I'm finished, but I just wanted to throw that in there because obviously I'm trying to build that for what we're doing in terms of a donation part. So question for you guys. I just went through this. Do I feel like a pushy salesperson? No? I think that the reality is you could ask people to come out of their pockets and give money without feeling like a pushy salesperson. And I did this exercise intentionally because A, I want to raise money for the Special Olympics, but B, because every person in here will come across as doing good for society or for the community or for whatever it is that they're, trying to participate in by simply just throwing an event. And you could even ask people for money. It doesn't matter, just as long as you do it tastefully. That's the point of that exercise, and hopefully it kind of gives the message. Chris Dixon, he didn't know I was going to do this. So, Chris, give a wave over there. All right, so this is like just being truthful. I don't think in my entire life I have ever seen anyone more successfully run a charitable event series than Chris. Just the most awesome thing that I've ever seen. Every month, he ran something called Rent Party for years. And Rent Party was basically, it featured local bands, and it raised money to help the hungry in the communities that, that he lives in, I should say. So we would see Rent Party signs all over the place. Chris did not do this for the attention, for the business, for the whatever. He did this out of the goodness of his heart, and they raised a lot of money. So much so that not only did they build this event into something that was like a community affair where everybody went to it, but they also started to, do offshoots on that. They did Backpack Pals, and it was like basically bagging lunches and such for kids in the community that a lot of times people get like lunch at school, like provided to them, but then they go home on the weekends and they don't eat. So he was, packing up bags, lunches for, I don't know, thousands and thousands and thousands of them every year. For years of his life, still does. He did that. He did, in addition to that, they did the Rent Party Garden, where they basically grew fresh vegetables and all of that at a local Elks Club. I felt very fortunate to be able to participate in this in different ways. But, if anybody in here really wants to like go all out in like creating a momentum and an energy to events and to charitable events and all that stuff, you should go see that guy over there because nobody's ever done it better in my mind. Kudos to you, Chris. Fear number 6, I don't have a location. I hear this a lot. They're like, I want to do an event, but I don't know where to do it. Like, where do I do an event? So I'm going to give you some concepts that I've seen that have been done really successfully. The first one is the public library. It's a safe space. People are like, feel comfortable doing, I'll come to the library. I won't come to your real estate office, but I'll come to the library. So this is a letter that I get twice a year from a local competitor. And I would encourage you to take a picture of it. It's really good. Now, what this letter is I'll read it, kind of briefly, but it says, "Dear neighbor, are you thinking of moving but have some reservations? It could feel overwhelming if you don't know where to start. My team and I understand that your home may be your largest asset, and we're committed to making sure that you don't leave any money on the table. On Tuesday, blah, 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 we'll be hosting a home selling, prep, and staging workshop at the New Providence Memorial Library. And if you've received this letter, you're invited. During our comprehensive workshop, we will address the following concerns that many New Providence homeowners share: decluttering, staging and painting, pre-inspection, strategic marketing, pricing and timing, bulletproofing the transaction, detailed analysis of local market data. Sellers, you have not missed the market yet. We are in the heat of the spring market, and now is the time to sell. Inventory continues to be historically low, which presents a huge opportunity for homeowners interested in selling. We have helped 2,500 local homeowners through our informative, no-cost, no-obligation workshop. Reserve your spot today." You think that works? Clearly it works, because 2,500 people showed up that they've worked with. So, this to me is a no-brainer. And if you don't feel comfortable being all things to all people, great. Talk about your part. Get somebody to talk about, get a stager to join you and say, talk about the staging process. Lean into your partners. Who are the people that you're working with in your business day to day? Lean into them and get them to come out and speak and talk about this. It's a very simple strategy. And who are you getting when you put this out? Sellers. All you're getting is sellers that are responding to this. What does everybody want in life? More sellers. If you get a seller, you get a listing, you make money, period. Easy approach. I'm gonna give you another example. This is a house I listed years ago. 29 Pine Court, New Providence. Beautiful home, very custom, very different. It's probably the most unique house in New Providence that I've seen, one of them. If you look to the right, you see that like very large kind of structure to your right. It's a 2-story library. I mean, it's really just a cool house. In the middle of it is a turret. That's like actually the master bathroom that comes up, and there's a rooftop deck off of the master primary bedroom. It kind of checks all the boxes in different ways. It's a cool house. So when I listed this house, what I realized very quickly is everybody wanted information about it. They just wanted to know more about it and like tell me like, I just want to see it. So a lot of people were like, whether they could buy it or not, they just wanted to see it. So I thought about it. The house was vacant. It was an estate, and I reached out to the sellers. I said, I want to do something a little bit different. I want to host an event at your home. Like, are you good with that? I said, it's going to be a bit of a cocktail party. I will not let anybody get drunk. I hired a licensed bartender. It was like a 2-drink, and that's your cutoff type of thing because I didn't want to have any liability issues. We played, think of like Frank Sinatra and, that type of crooner music, like just created a vibe. I rented, and the expense of this was not expensive. I went to Taylor Rental. I got like those little, like the cocktail tables, the drink tables, put nice tablecloths over them, got a little bit of a spread in terms of food and all of that. If the event cost me $2,000, it would have been a lot of money. Like it was not a high-end expensive event, but it felt that way. So that particular event that I ran, I sold $10 million worth of real estate off of that event. And it was between this house and, I don't know, probably 6 or 7 others, like that all came out of that one event. And it was, all I did was I invited everybody that I knew in life. And I said, you want to come tour the house? Like, everybody in New Providence was like, everybody that I knew around the area. I said, come through. Like, I'm happy to give you tours. I brought everybody into this space. Obviously, it was a unique space, but I brought everybody into this space to like kind of have a little cocktail party. And then I was giving individual tours or little group tours throughout the rest of the house. It was like a 9,000 square foot house. It's a big home. That's such an easy way to approach this if you have a listing that warrants it. So if you ever get the ability to, get a really unique listing or a cool listing that people would be interested in seeing, like you have to take advantage of this. It's a no-brainer, it works. Another event that I went to was actually a clothing store. It was a clothing store in Brooklyn. So where do a lot of our buyers come from? Especially in Maplewood and those markets. And I know they were talking about it earlier. Frank was speaking to it. We did an event where a lot of clothing stores or like local, shops, they're closed at night. Or if they are open at night, it's kind of slow. Like it's not a great time for them. They want more people to come into their store. So if you have a local place that you go to regularly and you have a relationship with the owner, have a conversation with them and be like, listen, did you ever consider like hosting an event here? Like, is it something that I would be able to use your space? They're not going to charge you. They want to get people to come through their store and look at their product. It's one more reason to have, new faces there. So the reality is like start to leverage different locations that you might not have thought about because they just move some of their stuff out of the way, put some chairs out. Now all of a sudden you have a little speaking event, in a location that's kind of funky. It's an easy way to do it. I saw it done really well at that little boutique-y place in Brooklyn and it led to business. I'm going to give you 3 examples of things that I used to do. So every single year I ran a backyard barbecue. Every single year. And I tried to put a theme to it. Sometimes I would do a pig roast. One year I did champagne and oysters. Another year I did steamship round, which is like basically a leg of a cow. And I basically, I promoted that because people just like, oh, it's different. I haven't been to one of those, in a while or ever. And I gotta be honest with you, I would have a few hundred people that would show up in my backyard. It was not fancy at all. The whole event cost me maybe $6,000, give or take. And that's for food, drinks, like, I would hire some people to like pass hors d'oeuvres and that kind of stuff. It was a backyard barbecue. music, a DJ. I DJ, so I would DJ it myself. And I just ran these events. One year, like the first year we did it, my wife was like, you are crazy. Why are you doing this? Like, you're spending $6,000 to host like 1 million people. Like, what is the point? And I was like, Kristen, there will be a significant return on this event. I guarantee you, like, I want to get together because I like hanging out with everybody anyway. But beyond that, I said, watch the business side of this. And I tracked it because I wanted to be able to go back to my wife and prove myself right. But I tracked it, and off of that $6,000 initial investment, I made $72,000 off of just people that I had conversations with at that event. It works. If you're not doing client appreciation parties, if you're not bringing people together, you don't have to go do it at the Ritz. Like, this is a backyard barbecue. But people came and they had fun. It was a good time. Like, it was good music. It was everybody like got a little liquored up. Everybody had a good time in terms of the food. It just was a nice event. It's an easy event. And I'll tell you this, here's something that most people don't realize. I would always invite people that I worked with and people that I never worked with because I want them to get together and talk about me. And it's not about, I realize it sounds self-serving, and it is because this is a business approach. But think about it like this. It's really hard to walk around, to individuals and pat yourself on the back and tell them how wonderful of a realtor you are. It's not a fun conversation. Like, it's awkward. You become like that guy. But if you're walking around and saying, hey, can I get you a drink? Everything good? You have food? Everybody's happy? Like, that kind of stuff. And they're talking with people that have done business with you. And the people that have done business with you and the people that haven't done business with you, the one central point that they know is like, center ground for them is me because I invited them to this party. Who are they going to talk about? They're going to bring, how do you know Mike? That's the conversation. How do you know Michael? Like, he actually sold us our house. He did such an amazing job, blah, blah, blah. Oh, we're in the market. We were thinking about that. Like, maybe I got to talk with him. It's just such an easy approach. You got people selling you all across your yard. Like, you just have to think about it that way because it works.
So Mike,
go ahead.
The invite didn't come as you the realtor. We just came as a client.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't like, I'm not awkward about that. Like, for me, I talk real estate. People know I'm in real estate. But when I invite people to a backyard barbecue, I'm not like, backyard barbecue, Michael Pennisi, the realtor. Like, no, this is my house. Like, I'm inviting you as my guest. Like, that's, I think you got to be classy about it. But I will give you a little bit of a different way of approaching this is if you do this, I would strongly recommend that you hire a videographer to walk around and do that for you. So instead of you saying, how was your experience with Michael Pennisi? Like, no, none of that. But the videographer walks around and says, hey, like, we're trying to get some like really good footage of this. Would you mind giving a couple words? Like, did you work with Mike? Like, did you work with him? Like, in a real estate trade? Yeah, he was great. Would you mind like getting on camera for a few minutes with the party in the background? Like, because now I have content that I could put out that everybody sees what an awesome time it is to work with me. Give a shout out to the Good Life group who are here with us today. So every year, like clockwork, they do an event. And I think it's such a cool event because I get the pictures and I see all of like what comes out. Amy does it at her house. Ben, Amy, Sarah. Every year at Thanksgiving, they basically put out an order form to everybody and their mother for pies. And it is like a drive-through that people are coming up and picking up pies. How many people showed up this year?
Over 100.
Over 100 clients.
It used to be in the office pre-COVID.
Can I throw you on the mic here? You do such an awesome job with this. It's worth highlighting. Sorry to bump you.
So it used to be in our office pre-COVID because we're in Maplewood and we're right across the street from the train station. So when people used to commute every day, people used to get off the train every day, walk across the street, and we used to have a space, 2 spaces. Now we have 1, but we had 2 spaces in our office, and I would get like a little keg. I mean, actually, I started doing this before even Ben and I were partners. I used to just put out a little paperless post in advance saying, let me know if you'd like your gluten-free vegan banana bread from Abel Baker or apple pie from Whiteman Farms in Morristown, Whiteman Farms in Morristown. So we used to do it in the office, and then when COVID hit and everybody was just like homebound, I said, like, this is my dream come true. I have this amazing circular driveway. And it was like, I said, just drive up. We had masks on and we would just like hand you your pie through the window. And you got to say, you know, kibitz for a few minutes, say hello, whatever. And then like on their way, and I literally had like a car, it looked like the carpool line of pick up from school because it would be like down my street and around the corner of people waiting for their pies and banana breads. And people look forward to it. You know, people look forward to it every year, and I started doing little balloon things on my front lawn. But yeah, it's like the one big touch point, one of the bigger touch points that I have. We also, just for Valentine's Day, I'm very big on gifting, like in life and in real estate. So like that's my love language. And we just did really cute like hot chocolate, branded from 4 Imprint, so it had our logo on the jar, and then it was like hot chocolate, like peppermint, marshmallows, and it was, you know, it shipped. We had it shipped to everybody's house. I used to deliver everything personally, but then when I sold more than like 10 houses, I started. I have to have it shipped out, but. The very first year when I started doing this, probably in like 2012 or something, when I only had maybe like, 10 or 15 clients that I cared about, who I sold houses to that lived in town, and I used to get my kids when they were little, they would give the gifts. I did like Hershey bars and they like oversized Hershey bars, because we were like in Hershey, Pennsylvania one year, and I bought a whole bunch of Hershey bars and got a bottle of wine. And my kids would go up to the house, and that way I wouldn't get like sucked into conversations and not be able to leave because they want to show me their kitchen and whatever. So one year my daughter went up and she comes back to the car with a little tin of brownies, and she said that they said thank you for the gift. They wanted to give you these brownies, and by the way, she's being transferred to Texas and she's going to call you next week about listing her house.
Got him. Thank you. By the way, thank you for sharing, first of all. I got to be honest with you, when you see like, and this is just being very, very real about this, I saw like the line of people lined up for a pie the first year, and I was like, really? Like, because I just wouldn't be that person lining up for a pie, but I got to be real, like every single year, like clockwork, it is just, there's a sea of people that come, and it's really cool because you're getting like a little face-to-face time with pretty much everybody that, that they're working with. And, to Amy's point, it just leads to business. Like, it's just like a nice touch. It's Thanksgiving. It's like, thank you guys for your business. Thank you guys for the relationship. It's easy. So really nicely done, and thank you for sharing. Give you another one. Kate Elliott, I thought this was such a brilliant idea. This is years ago, but so a lot of times people are like, they come to me and they say, oh, I got this great opportunity. And I'm like, oh yeah, what's up? And like, it's a marketing opportunity. The head of the PTA came to me and said that for $5,000, I could have like my name as the biggest name on the banner at this event. And I'm always like, oh God, like, that's like such a waste of money, in my opinion, for what you're getting. And, then I'm trying to talk that person off of like, well, maybe there's a better use of your money, but I'm trying to do it in a nice way and have that dance because they're so excited. But the truth of it is like, it's a waste that you're not going to get the return that you want from just that. And, it's good to be supportive if you want to be like, the person who's branded everywhere. Awesome. I don't have any problem with that, but there's got to be more to it in terms of return. And you really have to look at your ROI. What Kate did that I thought was just so smart is there was a really big event that was being run in town, and it was a kids event. I think it was, I might be butchering this, but there was like a kids group, like the Popovers or Pop-Ups, or like, I don't remember exactly, but it was like a big kids bands, like going back like, 5-10 years ago. And they had this event and it was sold out. Everybody wanted to go to this event. So what did she do? She reached out to the organizer of the event and said, I want to sponsor the ice cream truck. And the sponsor said, what are you talking about? We don't have an ice cream truck. And she goes, you do now. And the person was like, okay. So what did she do? She got an ice cream truck. It wasn't exactly a truck. It was like, she personally got ice creams that were branded to the Kate Elliott team. And she sat out front, and when the concert ended, all these kids and all their parents walked out, and she just handed each of them ice cream cones with branded materials all for her. I mean, talk about an easy way to build, first of all, a love and appreciation in the community. All these people, God bless you, all these people were thinking to themselves, oh, this is amazing. Like, my kids were happy, like smiles all over the place, and her name was on everything. And the whole thing cost her like less than $1,000. It was like $500. Like, she didn't have to really sponsor anything. All she did was buy ice cream. So to me, like, and by the way, she was in the center of it all, handing it all out. Really a smart way of doing this. So if you don't have the money to go out and spend on high-end like sponsorships, create a sponsorship that doesn't exist. It's a simple way for you to kind of tag onto somebody else's event and get the face time that you're looking for. Fear number 7, I don't have a topic. I don't know what to speak about. I hear that crap all the time. God bless you. You get what you focus on, so focus on what you want. It's that simple. If you want to work with first-time home buyers, do a first-time home buyer seminar. If you want to work with investors, do an investor seminar. First-time home buyers, investors. If you want to work with seniors, do something related to seniors. Just realize that if you're doing something related to seniors, it better include their kids. Like, be smart about who your actual target audience is. So the point is like, you pick and choose what makes the most sense, but your topic is directly tied to what you're looking for in your business. Like, don't sway from that. Don't get cute. Don't think about, oh, this would be a fun topic. No, do what you're trying to target, because that's what you want. So I'm gonna go through some key takeaways of some of the lessons and things that I've learned. One, the thought process of you are invited is so powerful. Like, anybody who's ever been recruited by me, I don't call down a roster and say like, I saw you did so much production this year. I could help you get more. Like, I don't do any of that stuff. That's not the way that I go about recruiting. It's not the way that I go about getting business when I was in sales. The way I go about it is doing events and inviting people to the events, and then they get to see what me and my group are all about. And if they like what they see, they join us. And if they like what they see, they use you, from a listing perspective. And if they don't, they don't. But like, the point that was made before, not every person is going to work with you, and you don't want everybody. So throw the events and show them, genuinely who you are and what you're about. And if it clicks, it clicks. And a lot of times it will, because if they're showing up, there's already something there. Follow up. I think that like when you throw an event, one of the most powerful things is you're calling everybody to invite them, then you're calling everybody to thank them. Like, or you're doing some type of follow-up, like if you have a photographer or videographer or whatever, hey, I have an awesome picture of you, you're tagging them online if you care to do that, you're sending it to them. Like, there's just easy ways for you to get in front of people and make it multiple touches off of one event. Don't lose out on those opportunities because they work. Create a cadence. This is really powerful for those people that want to do a series of events. You're going to get that person that says, I really wanted to come, but I couldn't make it. I had my kid's soccer game. Not a problem. We're actually doing another one next month. You should come at this time. So if you have like we're doing this every so often type of an event, like this is the perfect example. I'm not a hypocrite. This is what I do. Like, you guys, every month, if you couldn't make it this month, what's going to happen? I'm going to get the videos that are being recorded. I'm going to put them out so you can see, if you want to watch, by the way, all of them are posted if you haven't seen it from last month. So if you want to, and I'll send those out to you guys later. But basically, there's always a follow-up, there's always a cadence, there's always a rhythm to it, because I want to be able to say that, oh, your sister, your brother, your mother, your cousin couldn't show up to this one, come to the next one. Here's the next one. And if you could promote the next one at the one you're at, all the better. Build an audience. You're not gonna, I said this last month rather. When we started this, we didn't have 500 people in the room. Like, now we sold out again this month. That doesn't happen unless it takes time and effort and energy to build. Like, you guys have to build your audience, and you can build it in different ways. You can build it online, you can build it face to face. Do not be dissuaded by only a handful of people coming right away. It just takes time to build. Creating content, I spoke about this a little bit, but if you're not recording events that you're doing and then putting out the content later, it's a missed opportunity. It's an easy thing for you to do. You don't need anything fancy. Grab your significant other, your kid, your friend, or whatever, and have them record it and then just chop it up later. This last thing is creating a web. Spiders don't catch flies with like one string across. That doesn't work. Like you need to create a web, and it has to be like different angles to it in order to catch flies. It's the exact same thing in prospecting in real estate. I don't just do an event. And when I do events, it's not just an event. So one of the things that I'm going to give you an example on is a buddy of mine is actually in long-term care insurance. And he does like a really awesome job with marketing, but he only has one strategy and one strategy only. And the strategy is like multifaceted. It's different like levels to it, but it's only about one thing. It's one event a month. So his one event a month is he hosts a dinner for high net worth individuals that are at a certain age. And he does that by doing a significant amount of research in terms of who these individuals are, what age they are. He has a target market that he knows that he wants to go after. He sends all of these people, every one of them gets a letter in the mail, and it says, congratulations, you've been selected for a free dinner, at such and such restaurant on such and such date. And his job is he does not stop all month until he fills that room. He needs 30 people there every month. And the thing is when he gets 30 people in the room, he knows exactly how many people, statistically speaking, are going to get converted. He knows that, hey, there are going to be 10 people that just come for the free dinner and never buy anything. There are going to be 10 people that are kind of like kicking tires and buy 6 months from now. There are going to be 10 people that work with me right away. He knows that if he gets 10 clients every single month, and that's all he does is just promote this event and get people to show up to this event. That's all he does. That's his whole business. And then follow up with the people that come from the event. He just realizes that he's going to hit his goals. It's he has a business that works. We have a business that works on. Our business, our average sales price is high. I mean, our average commission check is high. Anywhere in New Jersey, it doesn't matter where it is. So if you consistently get 30 people into the room and you convert 2 of them, or 1 of them even, you're gonna more than pay for itself every single month. You build your pipeline. When those folks that I was talking about earlier about the Resource Home Show, they built this really cool event. It's once a year. All right, well, where do you go from there? Well, my response to them was, if you want to take it to the next level, why don't you start highlighting and doing video recordings of all of the tradespeople that go to your event and are featured at your event. Have them, go film them in their natural element. So if you have somebody who's doing sewers and drains, have them go and do a sewer scope and do a recording of that and show what that looks like, so you could show people that are in that scenario, hey, I have this resource, here's Ronnie Fiorelli, who's a buddy of mine who does that. I have this resource, here's this person, and look at what he does and watch him do his work. And the reality is, they're like minute-long videos, 2-minute videos, but you're giving life to an event. You have to have multifaceted, different ways of approaching this. Try not to be a man of success, but rather try to be a man of value. Albert Einstein, love that quote. I used to put a variation of that on my mailers. Because to me, I didn't really care about how many houses I sold. It was, how could I help you? How can I try to provide value to you? And if you approach every event, with that thought process in mind, that to me is such a win. If you bring value to the people you serve, they'll come back. They will use you. Everybody in here, one of the things that I'm very proud of in this group is I look at Eventbrite and it always reminds me that this is an event where people continue to come back to, in regards to, they actually notify me that, many return users or repeat, guests or whatever you want to call it. You guys come back, I hope because you get value. I hope you got value today. And the truth is if it was just me here trying to pat myself on the back, you wouldn't come back. Events have to be about the audience, not about the speaker. So that to me is one of the biggest things that I've learned from doing events. And then the last thing that I'll put out there before I open it up to any questions if you have them, is we rise by lifting others. You have to, when you do an event, I don't care what event you run, any one of them, you have to make people feel good. If they walk out of there feeling like you just sucked the soul out of them, they're not going to come back. They're not going to want to do business with you. They need to walk out feeling either empowered or special or happy or, wow, that was worth my time, whatever it is. Like, half of that battle on that is just being like, hey, it's so great to see you. Like, it's bedside manner. And if you relate to your clients and you're like, you show excitement about like the fact that they showed up. They had a million other things that they could have been doing, but they showed up to your event. Like, acknowledge that. Like, and to me, like, that's such a big piece of this, because if they feel that, they're gonna feel special, they're gonna feel like they want to do business with you. And that's really at the heart of this. There's nothing more important than that. Any questions? No? You guys are like, I want lunch. All right, I appreciate your time as always. Hopefully this was helpful. Growth Mastermind next month.